Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. My name is Lucas, and today I was scrolling through Framer's homepage, and I found this section down here that has a few different websites as inspiration, all built in Framer. And I decided to click this one down here. So I clicked it and it came up with this little landing page dedicated to this design, and I thought it was really neat. I like these little elements floating around. And so I clicked, and shout out to Nate Watkin. It's a really cool project, by the way, called Assemble. And I came to their website, and basically scrolling down, you can see all these little icons kind of, huddle into the background of this UI down here, right? So this is kind of what I wanted to tackle today. I wanted to see if I can build this, right? So we have the hero section with the text. We have the description. We have a little button over here. We're not going to go too deep into the button interactions like the hover effect. But what I want to do is I want to just be able to create this nice little effect where these icons scroll down beneath this particular UI, right? So that's the goal for today. And let's get started. And in order to understand this project fully, you might be thinking of different ways of how this might occur, this animation, right? So you might think maybe there's a scroll variant, maybe it's like scroll speed, and this is staying sticky to the top. But the best way I would say to analyze this is by going to inspect, and let's just minimize this a little bit so we get that desktop view. And you can kind of see here, you can click on this, and then you can see something moving up here, right? As you scroll, this moves, right? So it says style will change, transform opacity 1. So the opacity stays at 1. It's going to stay at a solid 100%. And then there's the transform perspective 1200 pixels, which stays the same. So the perspective is going to stay the same, but the X and Y translate is going to change, right? This one is going to start off at around 0, and then it's going to go to 500-ish, 450 pixels Y, and minus 150 pixels X. So it's going to basically transform the X and Y position, right? So that's kind of what we can see here. And we can do the same for another one. We can click this one, and as we scroll, we're also going to get that same movement down here, right here on the right side of our inspect page, right? So we got that in mind. Now let's go ahead and open a Framer project and try to build this in Framer. So I opened a Framer file, called it Hero Animation, brought in these two screenshots, and what we're going to do is we know that, well, before we start anything, we know that this is going to be the start and this is going to be the finish. So once you scroll down here, it's going to look like this. There's going to be also a nice little gradient glow at the bottom, right? So what we can do is we can and we're going to ignore this navigation for the moment, I would say. I mean, we can add one from Compa, the free one, later, but we can just go ahead and start with the hero section. So the first thing I did was that I added these two other frames, the breakpoints, by just clicking up here, plus tablet plus phone. So that's important that we do that. And now that we have that, we want to let's draw a text, right? This is going to be this is the header text. And let's kind of see back in Chrome how big this header text is. Maybe we can get a similar font. So Anthro Trial, so it's a paid font, but it's 64 pixels. And this is 23 pixels, right? So 64 and 23. So let's make this 64. And let's maybe put this in the middle. And then we got another one, 23. So 23 and 64. The 64 one might be a semi-bold, I would say. Yeah. that looks good. It looks a little bit too big. I wouldn't make it 64. I would make it like maybe 54. That looks better. This is the header text for our project. And now what we can do, and let's actually make a button as well. The button text seems to be smaller. So let's just make a button by going like this, making the text, let's say around 18 pixels, this button. And then we want to right click and add stack down here. And let's make the stack fit the content and fit the content at the height. Let's set the fill to black. And let's set the fill of the text. So make sure that you're highlighting the text to white. And then let's just select the stack and add some padding. Maybe something like 15. And let's set the radius to something circular. Let's actually add more padding to the right and left. Like this, perfect. And now, so now we can see, let's bring this over here. And they have like kind of the same space. So let's just put these all into its own stack. So add stack. So now perfect. We have our own stack inside of this desktop frame, which has to be actually converted also into a stack. And how do we do that? By clicking layout, and now it's a stack, and making the height fit the content. So this is important in every Framer project, making the height fit to content. It's just important that we do so. And let's make sure that, so this would be, let's make this the actual hero section, and let's put this, and let's make this the text section. So we have to add another stack, making it text, enter, and making this button. And this text has to be a width of fill, because as you can see, it's kind of like overflowing. So it's gonna have to fill the width of the actual parent layer. So fill, perfect. This button is gonna stay like this. We want the things here, well, we want this to be centered. And we want this to be centered as well. And we want these texts to be fill, but we want it to have like a maximum width so that it doesn't, you know, it doesn't like go all the way to the end of the screen just like it's going here, right? We want to add a maximum width to this specific text. And we can do that for this whole section right here. So we can add a max width, a fixed max width. Let's say of around 600. Yeah, that looks about right. Maybe even less, 560. Right, so it stays like fill in the phone because the phone is less, it's 390 width. But then in the tablet, it starts to, you know, compromise, get smaller in the middle, right? So we got that. Let me get this hero section, and let's add some padding on the top. Let's add some like 120. And let's add some 120 on the bottom. So this is our hero section. And now below our hero section, we want to add this particular section, right? We want to add this screen. So what we've got to do is we got to go here, click on a frame, and let's just create something that you would think is a screen of a laptop, right? And let's make this a different color so we can tell the difference. Let's also give it like a little bit of a radius, maybe 8 pixels. And let's bring in this frame into this hero section. So it's right below this text, perfect. And this can stay as a frame. It's eventually it's not going to be a color, it's going to be an image. So we can just put that image placeholder here for now. And actually, is it in the hero section? It's not in the hero section. You see, it looks like it's in the hero section, but it's not. So let's just make sure that it is inside the hero section. Right, now it's inside. So let's make a gap here because we have a little bit of a gap. So we have our little gap here, 120 pixels. And what we want to do also for this image, as you can see, there's like this kind of outline. So here is the image, right? But then here there's something else. And I want to have that same kind of effect. So what we can do is we can put this image inside of another stack. Make this stack fit the width and fit the height, and then add some padding. Maybe 10 pixels, maybe 15, 14 pixels. And let's also add some radius to it, maybe around 10 pixels. And let's give it a fill so we can actually see the difference, right? So we have like this nice little thing here. And let's even add like a nice border to it. Not so strong, maybe 10%. Yeah, something like this. Looks pretty cool. Okay. And now for the other sides, it's looking, you know, it's not really fitting so well. So what we can do is we can, in the other sides, we can set this to fill. We can put a little bit of padding for these particular sides, but that wouldn't look so good. So let's not set it to fill. Let's think about this later, but there's different ways to making this nice and responsive, right? So we got this, we got our background. So now we want to add some of these things, right? So we have our text and our image. So this is going to be our UI. And then I would say, I mean, we have several things going on here. We have this gradient. And as you can see, there's like also like a little shadow. We're not going to add this for now, but let's just add this gradient. And this gradient is basically going to be, it's going to be a frame. And it's going to be a circular frame. So something like this. And then we're going to give it like a color that's kind of, it looks like a highlighter color, right? Like something like this. And now what we can do is we can add a filter, blur, and then we can adjust that blur by going like this, for example. And then as you can see, you can already see that it kind of looks like a nice little blur, and we can adjust the size of this. We can adjust the, doesn't have to necessarily be locked. We can, you know, just do this, make it like a rectangle kind of thing. So we got that blur. That's one of the things that we got to add afterwards. And we got these little things here, right? These little icons. So they're very beautifully designed. We're going to skip that beautiful design. We're just going to make these shapes with the backdrop, right? With the shadow. So let's move this gradient. So I'm going to call this gradient over here. And let's create with F little rectangles that are white and that have a bit of a border radius, as you can see. And let's kind of move them on top of this so we can add shadows. And I want to put a realistic shadow. And I want to make this maybe a little bit darker and more diffusion, maybe less focus. Something like that we can try for now, right? And then what we can do is we can set this, turn this into a layout so it can be a stack. And inside of this, we can add an image, or this whole thing can be an image, right? And you can just create these little icons somewhere else, or here in Framer, sorry, and actually replace it with the image. So for now, let's just keep it as a stack, as a frame, sorry. And what I want to do is I want to start placing them in here. But I want to place them over here, and what we got to do is we got to make them position absolute. So let's start rotating them a little bit. So this one is going to be like this. Then this one can go over here. It can be a little bit smaller, I would say. Go like this. Put another one here. Less rotated. Go like this. This one can go over here and be more like this. Right? So we have different sizes. And then we can make one a little bit larger. And one over here. That goes like this. Okay, perfect. So we got a few of them, just like this designer did. I also can see that he added like a nice shadow here. So what I can do is I can right click here, copy the style, and I can press paste style. Oh, we don't want to do that. But we can go here as well, and we can copy the shadow and paste. Well, we can do that somehow. Paste, there we go. Now it has the same shadow. We can adjust the shadow a little bit. It looks a little bit too dark. I want it to be less, maybe 15, and have a little bit more of a diffusion everywhere. So perfect, it's like a nice light shadow. Okay, I want to make this UI and the text, I want to add something called a z-index. And a z-index, basically, z is adding a third dimension, so just x, y. And then the z is basically, if you have a z-index 1, it's going to be above items that are z-index 0. So in this case, this is z-index 0. If this was z-index 1, then it would be above. So if I were to go like this, you can see it goes above, right? And we don't want that. We want it to go underneath. So this is going to be a z-index 1. And these little guys are going to be a z-index 0. So let's adjust that to 0. So now if I were to go like this, they would go underneath, as you can see. Cool. So we got that covered. Now let's do this little, this nice little design. Actually, let's bring in our gradient friend. We totally forgot about him. Let's bring him, let's go like this, and let's take him out of this and give him a absolute position as well, and also give him that z0, and maybe decrease the something like this. Something like this looks good. So we have a few things going on here. Actually, this gradient might be a little bit too colorful. We might have to decrease the opacity of this specific gradient so that it's not so extreme. Maybe 50%. That looks good. And now let's work on the actual animation. So if I were to click here, nothing happens, right? So let's go back and let's actually adjust this font size. I still think it's too big, maybe 48. Let's make this a different font so that it looks much nicer. We can choose like Geist or Satoshi is one of them that I think is cool, bold. And then this one we can make a little bit lighter, just so that we have something. Something different. Okay. Cool. So this text, I also want to have a z-index of 1. So they can go above these elements. And as you can see in the mobile version and tablet version, they're kind of like spread differently. We're going to correct that right now. So let me just work on this. So if we go back to Chrome, we can see as you scroll, the position changes. So let's just try with 1. So with this one, an effect, scroll animation. So, okay, so we have different offset, you see? So we have opacity 1, enter, exit. Then we can go like this and go down like this. So let me see. No, this has to be fixed. So scroll animation. So on scroll. It's a little bit too fast. So okay, so this is actually like following the scroll. So this is actually interesting. So let me see how we can do that, because right now it's just following a timer, right? It's not really following my scroll. So I've deleted that, and I actually tried effect scroll speed and tried minimizing the scroll speed to about like 70. And if you see that, you know, it does work. And if you go to Chrome and you were to, you know, publish the site and see, it also works in the same way as our example, but there's only a transform of y happening. There's no transform of x. So that's not really what we want, right? We want it to go like inside and not, you know, we want it to go in the center and not in the, just down, right? So let's go back to Framer. Let's get out of here and let's remove this. And we want to add a scroll transform. So on scroll from, let's make the opacity 1 and the scale to 1. And let's make sure that this is 1 and 1. And let's not skew. We don't need this. We don't need any, you know, 3D effects. We just need it to offset and kind of go down, right? Perfect. So we got that one. We want the same with here. So effect, scroll transform, on scroll from 1 to 1, then 2, offset, let's make like 210, and then we can make it like something like this. So let's see how that works like. Okay. Maybe we don't want it so we can make it like this, so it's close to the other one. And then for this guy, we can also add a scroll effect, scroll transform effect from this to this. So let's not skew, we want to offset it and put it down a little bit. Perfect. And then for this one, we also want to do that same effect. So scroll transform from 1 to 1. And then we want to actually go the other way and go like this. And with this one, we want to add the effect. Let's add the effect scroll transform from, let's remember 1, 1, and then 2, let's go the other way and positive here. And then for this one, let's also add this one. So this is going to be the last effect. So scroll transform 1, 1, 2, like this, and a little bit down. So let's see how that looks like. Cool, so we got that nice little effect going on. And what we can do is we can even add that, you know, at the end, the opacity kind of goes down to 0. Let's see how that would look like just with this test one. I think I like that the opacity like kind of goes down at the end. So we can add that not to all of them, but like to these top ones, these top 4. So let's add it to this one as well. Transform to a opacity of 0, back, transform to opacity of 0, transform to opacity of 0. Perfect. Opacity of 0. Okay. Let me see if this works. Okay, that's good. So we got that first one. Now what we want to do is that whenever the bottom of this frame is in view, then this gradient pops up, right? So let's create a how would you call it, a scroll section. So this would be the UI, right? And I want this gradient to appear on appear, or section in view. So let's choose the UI, and the bottom part fade in from 0 to 1, and it shouldn't be a spring, it should be like something like this, and maybe 1 second. Perfect. And we can just try this out. Kind of like does the opposite. We want the opposite to happen. Okay, so let's get this. Enter. Okay, what now? The good thing is happening. Okay, sometimes you just gotta, adjust your things. Enter should be 0. Exit should be 1. Let's remove this. So let's do the fade in from opacity 0. Let's put the scale to 0 as well, why not? And then 1 to 1, and then we can do this. Boom. Okay. So now we don't see any gradient, but now we do. All right, perfect. And that's basically it, guys. Like, that's basically the whole thing. Well, now we just gotta make sure that this is all responsive. So let me just adjust that in these different spaces here in these different sizes. I would say that I don't know how this other site does it, but I would say that for the mobile view, we get rid of these. We get rid of them. Oh, yeah, we just keep them. Okay, no, they do it as well. Cool. Okay, all right, so then let's do it for all of them. So let's just adjust the positioning of everything. Just the positioning. Where's this one? I need this last one. Here we go. And how would it look like here? Okay, let's move this bottom one a little bit more down and move this one also a little bit more down. So that's looking good. Now we just gotta adjust the size of this UI thing. Let's fill it, and let's fill the image as well. And let's adjust the size of this to be also smaller. And let's adjust the size of the image to be fill. And let's add a padding. To this, perfect. And then for this particular section, let's first go like this. Let's make everything fixed. It was very tiny, I remember. So let's make it like that. And then let's make this fill. So for the phone, it stays fixed. The gradient can be much smaller as well. Can put that like that. And then these little guys, they're gonna be smaller. Let's see where we can find him. He's gonna come soon. There he is. And then we need this one. Actually, we're gonna decrease the size of this header for the phone to be smaller. We're gonna add some padding to the hero. And then let's continue with the different boxes. And so it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm gonna say I would basically take away a few things. And by taking away a few things, I mean like deleting some that we don't really need, because they have only 4, and their desktop they have like 6, but they only have 4 in their mobile, right? So we can do this pretty much the same. So we can probably delete this one and this one, make these lower, make this one lower, and then we can just test it out. And we can do something like that. Perfect. All right, guys. So this is pretty much it. Let's just adjust the size here. And voila. So this is basically it. We kind of did like a rough draft. We can actually add an image just so that, you know, it looks pretty much like something. Let's write like UI. Maybe they have something. All right. If not, then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a screenshot of this, and we're going to say cheese. I'm going to take a screenshot of my entire page and say cheese and put it in here. Oh, actually, we got to take a new one because I got to save it. So let's again say cheese. There we go. And now let's wait for it to be saved to my computer. And now let's go here, choose an image from my recents. Let's just choose this one, and boom, we have it. And yeah, guys, this is basically it. I hope you guys enjoy. Oh, I don't even come out in the screenshot, whatever. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial. It was nice. It wasn't so long today, but if you guys are interested in more types of videos like this, please let me know. Let me know if there are any like inspiration pages that you want me to copy. I always like do these as a challenge. I love challenges. So if you find something really hard, send it over, and I'd love to see if I can build it in Framer. But anyways, I'll have the link to this remix link in the description below. So yeah, just another heads up. So thank you guys so much for everything, for watching and for learning Framer. Framer is an amazing tool, so keep on practicing every day. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.